Hello, my name is Paige Tagliaferre and I'm a graphic designer. If you ask anyone in my family, I've always been the creative one of the group. If you ask them where I get it from, you'll probably hear crickets. But that's okay because I think I've finally figured it out. You see, I look up to my parents a lot. My mom is a programmer and my dad's a salesman. They're both very hardworking, good at what they do, and very present in today's world. Not only that, but they are very good communicators and are very high critical thinkers. I've acquired all of these traits just by being raised by them, and that is what makes me a good designer. You have to be good at critical thinking and very good at communication in order to solve problems and get your message across. In the sea of possibilities of type, color, materials, or what have you, you have to be the one that determines the most correct approach for the design at hand. I am influenced by lots of people, places, and movements. Living in the digital age has allowed me to get any kind of inspiration that I need or could ever want at the touch of a finger. Having this access to everything that is happening in the world, not only today, but in the past, it's hard not to be captivated by other creatives. In high school, I was borderline obsessed with Andy Warhol and Shepard Fairey. Their approach to art was so interesting to me, to take something from pop culture and totally remake it into something new was so crazy in my mind. Fairey took Andre the Giant and essentially created his own brand, Obey, which is still successful in today's stores. I go out and buy Obey shirts all the time. So that in and of itself was taking some street art, something that you make with your hands, more studio art, and transferring it over into a brand, which was super interesting to me. Andy Warhol took the iconic Campbell's soup can and screen printed it, which is really where I get my love for silkscreen and printmaking. Taking that studio art and really captivating it and mashing it together with design really inspired me. This developed over the years for a love of typography and Swiss design. In college, I took my first typography class, and I loved it. I really pushed myself to make the type legible, but still you had to work to read it. It was very experimental, and I really had fun with it. While the Swiss design really pushed me to focus on type and color being the focus, and really taught me that for something to be great design, it doesn't need to have a whole bunch of little details. It can be super straightforward and simple. This led me on a path for experimental and environmental design. This curiosity I have for experimental design mostly involves manipulating photographs and getting hands-on with other materials that a graphic designer wouldn't usually use, and filming it and editing it and all that kind of hands-on aspects. And as far as environmental design goes, it has always amazed me that we use this kind of stuff every single day. Wayfinding to get to a bathroom, to find stores. It's just all right there. Billboards, you see it every day, and no one really stops to think about someone put in the time and the effort to make this, and we see it and we don't always process it. And it's a way to communicate without actually being present, which I find to be the part of graphic design to be the most powerful. My passion for design is a design that creates solutions for problems that come up for a client. I believe that research and process are just as important, if not the most important part of design. Although my work mostly ends up digital, I approach it very hands-on at first, by sketching, by making lists, lots of experimentation, making physical mock-ups, anything I can do to really get a taste of what my design is going to look like in a physical space before it goes digital really helps me to get to know my design better. It really allows me to visualize the practicality of the design and how it transfers from multiple platforms. This concepting phase is usually what takes the longest for me, Because once you have that solid foundation of what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, what you're going to use, everything all set up for you, how you're going to make it and actually making it isn't that bad. It usually takes the shortest for me because I put in all the effort in order to go about planning everything ahead of time. For example, I've branded a music festival that I would have loved to exist. It's called the Runaway Music Festival in Colorado. With the branding of an event, you really have to think about everything they provide that needs to fit inside this identity. I started out with making a list of everything the event needed, how they could connect, and then sketches I wanted to achieve. From there, I formed the icons, then the patterns, then I formed the logo. With the logo I exploded into options for letterheads, tour promotion posters, t-shirts, lanyard passes, and ticket stubs. Anything that this event might need. This included everything up to the branded bottles that they could give away, wayfinding, which all need to be cohesive to the specific event. I used pattern, color, and type as the link that connected each piece together. I often describe my work as a controlled chaos. When someone looks at my work, I want them to really think about it, whether that is shouldn't work together, but somehow it does, or what does this mean? How did you do this? I want the audience to really think in order to have that connection that I do with each piece. This allows there to be a conversation, which is very important in art. To me, art isn't something that you just look at and move on. It's something that you should be able to talk about and have a conversation with someone about it. The conversation also allows people to be present in the current moment, which is hard for a lot of people these days. A lot of people are engrossed in social media and their phones or tablets or what have you. But really to take the time to have a face-to-face conversation with someone is really rare to come by a lot of these days. A piece of mine that really gets people talking these days is a poster series I created called Beauty and Bricks, where the main objective was to convert an ordinary object. I chose a brick wall, into something so much more. A brick wall is ordinary. There's a whole bunch of different types of bricks. I went out to Main Street in St. Charles and took a whole bunch of pictures of all of the different kind of bricks. And from then, I kind of thought about what a wall meant. Walls are meant for keeping things out. They are often thought of something that can hinder someone from getting what they want. But in my case, I manipulated the bricks into something fluid and beautiful in their own right. The chaos in this piece is mixing geometric lines of the rectangular brick with the distortion of the photographs to make a swirling effect. So the black and white swirling lines in there are actual photos of bricks that I manipulated. I always get questioned about my process and the meaning behind this piece, which is really exciting for me to have a conversation one-on-one to explain how I went about my concept and how it was executed. So I took a wall from each of these 3 countries and wrote some facts about them and how they were meant to either keep people out of certain places or what they really meant for each country. This collaboration of 2 different styles of the swirling fluid motion versus the rigidity of the brick also kind of appears in my When I Was Younger album art for Colony House. Their music is super relaxing, but it's also electronic, so there are songs in there that make you want to get up and dance. I found that executing this collision of moods was best by a pastel color palette, photos that have a glitched effect, and a series of wild, pointed lines stretching across the front and then diminishing in the back of the album to kind of show that smoothness. However, this controlled chaos is not all of my work. I do a lot of branding, and with that comes a lot of simple, straightforward design that is often seen in Swiss design. For Paddle and Surf, I made up a local mom and pop surf shop that wanted to rebrand, that made them more appealing to tourists to want to come in, that didn't scream the cliche mom and pop store, so that they could get more people to come in and rent from a more established brand, essentially. By taking the simple approach of icon plus text, the client appears to be more established, like a normal chain front that you would see in a mall. This is also another example of when my work is easily transferred from one medium to another. For Paddle and Surf, the icon logo is easily applied to other merchandise like bags and t-shirts to really establish that brand in the store. I also created a responsive website for them to make it easy and convenient for renters who needed to rent that equipment. Being hands-on, I really appreciate the art of printmaking. The work that's put into the preparation really inspires me and enforces me to make sure everything is perfect before you go and print it, because there is no undo, you can't erase. So you really have to take the time and research and plan and execute it just right in order to get your perfect outcome. In my printmaking, I really like to achieve the balance between ink and paper, so I'm not filling up the whole paper with ink. I like to see that paper shine through. This is very apparent in my prints of waves. It's a relief print I made from linoleum. The black waves are balanced by the way the lines are formed and how the piece covers the entire paper, but you still see a lot of the paper because of those lines. Overall, my work gets the visual interest from creating a controlled chaos through patterns, line work, and type. Everything I do starts out very hands-on and requires a lot of research and preparation before I even start designing. Everything I do then usually turns out digital, which allows me to transfer onto multiple platforms using my influences and acquired traits from my parents along the way to find the best solutions for a particular problem in design.